Stu and Dave Do America presents Jonah Hill versus Jiu-Jitsu. Wow, these are great moves. Is Jonah Hill a tough guy?
Yeah. Apparently, he said he could take anybody down in jiu-jitsu. Also, he's a pretty good actor who can't tell that other guy is acting like Jonah's winning.
That didn't seem like the full effort was being put into that particular battle. I did see his commentary about how he could beat everybody up. Was it a joke? I mean, again, I'm not saying he doesn't know jiu-jitsu. You can obviously train for that. He seems to be in much better shape than he was, as he kind of called himself out as the fat kid in Superbad. But like, what a weird thing to say about yourself. Like, it just, the whole statement was off-putting.
It seems that most people who say they can take anybody out can't, and he just sort of proved it. But I do think, I just saw a guy named Moneyberg says that he wants to wrestle him. I don't know much about anybody named Moneyberg, but I think that they should fight.
Yeah, I agree, and my money is on Moneyberg, no doubt about that.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, let's do Spider-Man, A Brand New Day. Welcome to Stu and Dave Do America. I'm Stu Burguiere, along with Dave Landau.
Ahoy, we meet again.
Yes, Dave Landau going to be all over the country at wonderful comedy venues. Like, Dave, can you fill some of the blanks in here?
Well, this weekend, you can see me August 7th and 8th in Albuquerque, New Mexico. August 14th and 15th, Glendale, Arizona at Stir Crazy. August 20th, Cleveland, Ohio at Hilarities. August 21, 22, Traverse City, Michigan, Traverse City Comedy Club. All those dates and more, DaveLandau.com.
Yeah, we come to the point now that either you have so many dates coming up that I can't read them because the print is too small, or my eyes are just terrible. It's one of the two. Probably, maybe two of the two, frankly.
Both.
Dave, let me tell you a little bit of history about this particular program. We are a new show. I don't know how many episodes we've done. I know there's a count out there somewhere. I know exactly how many AIDS jokes have been made on the show. That's because we have this counter right here. That's 33. Is the correct number there. But I want to. We get to a point at times on the show where we have to make sure we are checking our own previous points. Like if you come out and you say, hey, I think this is going to happen, and the opposite happens, you should call yourself out and try to remain accountable to the audience. On July 23rd, we talked about Avengers Doomsday, and that was coming out on December 18th. The title of the episode was, Does Anyone Still Want a Marvel Movie?
Correct. Angela was one of the guests as well.
She was awesome.
I believe on that.
Yes. She didn't make dumb points about the movies, but we probably did. Now, considering the fact that Spider-Man Brand New Day has soared to $927 million worldwide, the second highest debut for any movie ever. In fact, only a day after that, it surpassed $1 billion. It did it in 6 days. The second fastest movie to hit the milestone. Now, of course, the first one was Avengers Endgame. But again, that came out before COVID. So the movie industry is completely different since COVID happened. And now they're talking about one of the biggest movies of all time. I think it either was the biggest opening weekend in America or it missed by a couple of $1 million. It was right around, I think the final number came out, it was actually just ahead of Avengers Endgame, $360 million or something. Just for the weekend, Dave. Apparently, I guess if it's just not slop, people still do want superhero movies.
I think they do. My son went and saw it. He enjoyed it. He thought it was pretty good. People do like Tom Holland. They like Zendaya. So I know that with those two people leading it, you definitely have a chance at a good box office. But we were talking about Avengers. I don't know if people are going to die to see it, but I think they are now. I guess I got to eat my words. They're probably going to rush out to see it with Doctor Doom. I didn't know. I didn't know if a new Spider-Man would do this well. But if you're going to make $1 billion in a week, I was wrong. I think people love it, and maybe it was pretty good. I'm wrong.
I have no interest in seeing it per se. In fact, I don't like superhero movies really at all. But it's a big enough of a cultural phenomenon that, my kid wants to go see it. Maybe I'd go and just check it out to see to see what the hype is. I've done this many times with superhero movies over the years, though, and I'm always disappointed in them. At least most of the time I am. I will say, while we're admitting things, Dave, if I could, this is this headline from The Wrap. With historic $927 million global opening, Tom Holland proves he is the ultimate Spider-Man with analysis. They've got analysis of that built into this article, which is incredible. I'm sure it's riveting analysis that I just couldn't quite bring myself to read. But
sure,
I will say this, Dave. I brought up the IMDb because I had the conversation with you a couple of weeks ago where I said, why do I know who Anne Hathaway is? Like, what has she been in? Like, I know her face. She's obviously very famous. And I know she is.
She is.
But why do I know her? And you brought up a couple of movies that I had seen, and there was something there. I had the same moment today, right before the show began, with Tom Holland, where I asked myself, why do I know who Tom Holland is? Except there was a slightly different element of that, in that I actually don't think I could pull him out of a lineup. Like, I don't think I could point him out. I don't think I know what he looks like. This is a real thing. And I went.
He's what I like to call a short king, somebody who's around my height and has done very well for himself. So I gotta say, he's married to Zendaya, makes millions of dollars, plays Spider-Man. I got to be on his side here, just height-wise, doing very well.
So you would say that, so it's not like a thing where you, as a person of a certain height, would be angry at someone else for succeeding in that circumstance. You're more of just like, thank God there's somebody who's making it.
That's correct. I think it's good for our people.
I like that. But I'm not bashing the guy. He might be the greatest actor of all time. But this is the thing that went through and I was like, well, what have I seen him in? And I went through the IMDb page and I went back from all of his movies all the way back to 2012. There's probably 36 of them listed on his IMDb. Dave, I kid you not, I have never seen him in a movie. Not one movie in this entire list have I actually seen. I don't think
you've never seen any of the Spider-Mans?
I've never seen any of the new Spider-Mans. I think I saw maybe a Tobey
Homecoming?
Maybe a Tobey Maguire one like a million years ago, which I didn't think I liked, so I didn't go back to the ones after that. I don't think
Sam Raimi?
I don't think I've seen any of them, Dave. I went through, first of all, almost every movie he's in is a superhero movie, so that kind of does explain it, but there's not even like a weird art house thing that I've seen. I have not seen any movie he's ever been in, and I don't think I would recognize him. I'm sure he could say the same thing about me, but I feel like it's somewhat notable, and I am not the right person to speak on this issue.
What if he's a big fan of you?
Now I feel bad.
Well, are you going to feel pretty bad about this now?
I will. I would have to go see some of his movies. Maybe I'll go see this new Spider-Man. But it just seems, the reason I bring that up is not just to show how pathetic and out of touch I am with humanity, but in a way, there is this sort of separation that we have now in culture where I think there's just a lot of famous people now who I don't know who they are. They're on YouTube. They got 700 billion followers. I've never seen them before. I don't know what they do. I watch, they talk about movie stars. I've never seen the people before. They do reality shows come out with these people that are supposed to be famous. I don't know who they are. And
right.
On the other side of that, you and I can get together, and we've done this before, talking about Steve Dildarian, a guy who made a show called The Life and Times of Tim, which is one of my favorite shows of all time that we both watch and can totally connect on. We watch every single episode of. But yes. No one in this audience is probably, and maybe a couple people have, but very few people in the world have seen that show. Yet I haven't seen a freaking Tom Holland movie. We are totally in our own bubbles.
Well, yeah, I think it's just what you like. I mean, I think Steve Dildarian's great. I bought one of his pieces of art. I have it hanging up. He's got 5,000 Instagram followers, so followers mean nothing to somebody from your generation and mine, but he's got a show on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't think it matters. I think it's just you're into what you're into, and that's perfectly okay. I think, and I think with these, people are into them. People love comic book movies. And when we were young, comic book movies were not that big of a deal. Even like Tim Burton's Batman, stuff like that. Yes, they were based on a comic book, but it's sort of not really. It sort of took off again with X-Men when that came out, when Bryan Singer, who's not at all a pedophile, made those movies.
Wait, why did
And
you have
those
to?
sort of took, because you look them up.
Yeah, no, I don't want to.
But those movies and everything kind of took off later. Like comic book movies were never really huge
Yeah.
up until, sort of the early 2000s, late 90s. So, it's not something that we necessarily grew up with, where all these kids now grew up with all these movies. Like a lot of the only movies they've seen since they were young have been comic book movies. Like if you're 15 to 20 years old, all you've done is grown up with comic book movies.
Yeah, and that's a really, I think I never liked that development, just not my thing. But there was a certain point where everyone kind of would watch a movie. Like we'd all know, we'd all have seen, we could all get the references from a movie that has come out. Like I can't tell you how many times, this is embarrassing, but it's like how many times there's been like a meme that's gone around from a superhero movie, and I have to like look up the context of what it means because I didn't see it. I don't care about it. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I feel like it does get you to better quality entertainment than like, you can go back. I'm not looking to return to the days of the three networks, right? Like I don't think that that's a good change. I like that there's diverse ways to entertain ourselves. I think that's a positive, but it is strange, like how we just don't experience the same world anymore. Like there's a few events that do it. There are a few people. Like I think at some level, superhero movies probably do rise to that for most people. You have, the Taylor Swifts of the world. There's certain things that are cultural events that kind of unite everybody in some sort of knowledge. But man, like there's a lot of stuff that goes on. Like I think I could do the same thing with Zendaya. I don't know how many movies I've seen with her in it either, frankly. And she seems to be one of the biggest movie stars in the world.
Yeah, there's like Dune. I mean, some people see Spider-Man in the theater. Some people just see him masturbating in Times Square. It just depends which Spider-Man you've seen. But the thing is, he's a cultural icon. So regardless of if you've seen the movie, you do know who he is, or he's had some experience on your life. But yeah, it's not the days where everybody saw Forrest Gump, or everybody saw The Goonies, or everybody saw a certain movie that you would talk about the next day, or even when you're talking about the three networks where you have the water cooler conversations about, like I just read Christina Applegate's book where she was talking about being on Married with Children in it, and the idea of being that famous at such a young age, but not having the internet or even having the scope or idea of how famous you are. I can't even imagine. You're more like, even if you were on a failed sitcom in the 80s, you're arguably more famous than anyone on television today.
Yeah,
because of how many people saw you.
I heard somebody make a post something, it was some tweet that went viral a few weeks ago, maybe, that there was some sitcom from the 90s that was seen as a complete failure. Like it had just come and gone, and it was like a big kind of known failure of the time. And it had something like 10 times the number one show, 10 times the audience of the number one show today. It was a complete and utter failure.
Right. Rob Lowe was on, am I frozen?
No, you're good. Well, I can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. Sorry. Sometimes I freeze. Rob Lowe was on a show in I think it was the 80s or early 90s, where he was a kid on that show, and he couldn't go into a mall without basically being tackled by a bunch of women or a bunch of girls. And when the show was considered a giant failure.
It really is amazing. By the way, I went through, as we were talking here, the Zendaya filmography. Sadly, and in one of the worst experiences of my entire life, Dave, I did take in the Greatest Showman, which was
okay.
I thought about physically hurting myself after seeing it. It was not one that I chose, I will say, but outside of that, I have not seen any movie she's ever been in either. So that basically, I have not. I do watch movies, just so you know. It does happen. But I apparently don't see any movies with any stars in them anymore. So that's where I am.
I mean, Dune is good if you're going to see one of his movies. Cherry's good. Locke is good.
I didn't Dune was. I started watching Dune at one point because everyone was saying it was like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, or like the highest rated movie of all time. It was so boring. I couldn't get through 20 minutes of it. I don't know. I don't.
See, I liked it, but I didn't go. I didn't go to the other 15 that came out. Once you make the first good one, I don't want to see the other six.
Right. And then the third one is coming out. Is it this? Well, I mean, there was a bunch, right? Wasn't it? This is an old series, but it came in for the second one came out, and then I think the third one's coming out the end of this year, which is one of the reasons why.
I believe so.
Yeah, it's Dune Part 3, I think. One of the reasons why we actually did a prediction market on Superman that it would be the #1 movie of the year. And I couldn't believe it. It was like a 20% profit on this. And it was, it's up against the only real contender against it is Avengers Doomsday. But that comes out December 18th. So it's only got 13 days to make as much money as Spider-Man makes in 5 months. So I don't know. That was a nice problem.
Yeah, Superman. People don't love Superman though. Superman was big in the '70s, late '70s with Christopher Reeves. It was big in the '60s with George Reeve, who that was an interesting story. But it's not. He's not the character that everybody really wants to go and see anymore.
Yeah, Spider-Man is of course the one that's going to be out for 5 months. But it did leak online. This might hurt the box office returns. Millions apparently watched a bootleg of it. That's going back to the days of like, what was it, Napster and LimeWire, and there's a bunch of those where people would steal movies back in the day, and then I
sit in the theater with a camera and tape it.
Really, you do that? That's
all the time.
Yeah. Was that one of your many odd jobs that you've had over your life?
Many. It's a great gig. There's nothing people would rather watch is a movie through a camera that I'm holding.
With you breathing and chomping on popcorn in the ear of everyone that hears it.
Well, I read an article where a guy was serving chili in the back of one of the theaters that was showing this film. And he was thrown out. And that's astonishing that you would eat somebody else's food like that, but that it was just chili. He had a crock pot of chili. And look, I admired the tenacity. You have to make some really good smelling chili for people to be like, not only is it not bothering me that this whole place smells like chili, but I'm willing to pay for a bowl of that.
Yeah, it's a weird. Chili's not the right choice.
Not a good movie choice.
Not a good movie choice because, first of all, you don't want to eating it in the dark. I feel like it's difficult with chili. The other thing I would say is, if you're gonna take food from a random stranger, something that's like hiding, God knows what. Like you can hide a lot of ingredients in a chili. I don't think I would want to participate in that situation.
No, I feel that casseroles and chili in the dark are two very dangerous things to take from a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you don't know what they have at home. You don't know what kind of pets. You don't know what kind of dander could be. There's a lot of reasons not to do that. But apparently, he was pretty successful selling this chili to the point that they had to say, look, you got to go. Everybody's not watching the movie. They're just buying your chili.
It's an interesting tactic. I like the entrepreneurship of it all. I had a friend when we were in New York, we were doing the Glenn's show in New York. We'd have to take the train to and from work every day to go into the city. And I had a friend who we would go out and we'd have like these, happy hours or whatever. And he would go home on the train. But when he'd go home on the train, he'd stop at the pizza place in Penn Station, which, first of all, any food product you're making in Penn Station is very risky. I mean, there's just a lot of things floating in the air. You're like underground. There's rats everywhere. This is not a place you want to manufacture food. Okay, first of all.
Everybody claimed that place was good, and I refused to eat there for every reason you just named.
Yeah, it's just not necessarily a good decision. Though I did it basically every day for multiple years. The amount of Auntie Anne's pretzels I ate from the stand that was right near the train that you had to get right before you were getting on the train. It's an incredible.
God.
I will say, even, Dave, it's interesting. Auntie Anne's even smells good in Penn Station. That's a little known fact, which is the only thing that smells good in Penn Station. But what I was getting to with this guy, so he would buy, you get a slice of pizza, maybe 2 slices of pizza for the train home after you've had a few drinks. It's a great way to slam down a dinner on the way home. But he would buy an entire large pizza, and then he would charge people on the train $10 a slice. So you buy an entire large pizza for like $15 or $18, and then he'd eat like 4 slices himself and then get $40. So he'd pay for the pizza and make a $20 profit on every ride home. It was an incredible plan. Give him lots of credit. He had a lot of those stories. This one guy he had another one where he was just a weird entrepreneur, and he had one idea where he decided at the end of the summer to go on like Craigslist and whatever, I guess Facebook Marketplace, whatever was popular at that time. And he bought up everyone's window air conditioners at the end of the summer when they were sick of them and they were getting rid of them. And he bought them at really low prices. And then he stored them in his apartment for like 9 months and then sold them all as they came back into summer and made a huge profit. And I'm like, I don't think there's any amount of money you could pay me to keep me. I'm just walking around dodging air conditioners for more than half the year. I don't know if it was worth it, but it was an impressive idea.
I admire that, though. I mean, if you're willing to do it, good for you. I mean, he must have obviously not had a lot of friends or was living with anyone who loved him. But, if that's the price you're willing to pay is to live alone so you can make a few bucks on an air conditioner, good for him.
I will say, I think he was actually married at the time. You may not be surprised to hear he is no longer married.
I wonder why.
Who would have known? Who would have known? All right, let me take a break. Come back here in just a second because we're going to find out, Dave, all about the real, true tragedy in our country, which is dog racism. You don't buy 10 first homes. You don't sell 5 houses to get the experience. That's not what you do. For most people, there are decisions you only make a handful of times in your entire life. And that makes those mistakes that you might make when making those decisions very, very expensive because you kind of don't remember, what did I do last time? It goes out of your memory and then you screw it up next time. You don't get the practice rounds. You don't get a reset button. What you get is a lot of times a really bad experience. Every negotiation, every inspection, every signature matters because the stakes are real. And that's why it makes sense to have somebody on your side who's done it hundreds of times. Hey, I haven't sold a house in 8 years. I don't remember all the details. What's new in this industry? You need someone who's doing it all the time. You need a great real estate agent. That's why realestateagentsitrust.com exists. Our own Glenn Beck created this network to connect you. Created the network that we're on, BlazeTV, and also created realestateagentsitrust.com. It's a great idea to go there because you get the best agent in your area and you don't have to worry about trying to figure it out because you're not picking from like an ad that you saw. You're not just clicking on some, the listing under the house that looks like a nice picture. You're instead getting someone who's been screened and has the best performance in your area. Go there now, realestateagentsitrust.com. It's a free service to you, realestateagentsitrust.com. Dave, before we get to dog racism, there is a breaking news story as it relates to Spider-Man. Apparently, an entire theater was evacuated during Spider-Man's screening because of a moviegoer's uncontrollable bout of rotten flatulence.
Yes, I did. I don't know if that was entirely my fault, but I do want to apologize to the people who said it was me and my son who was crying during the screening.
Well, this is what happens when you're eating buckets of chili in the middle of a screening, right? Like it's not
well,
gonna
I'm
turn
pretty
out well.
sure it's got to be correlation.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to serve chili, there's a chance that flatulence will follow.
I mean, how could this have been this bad? Theater's a big room. I mean, you really have to have some digestion problems.
Yeah, you have to be a very garbage human being who's just been eating trash all day to evacuate a theater. And the fact that nobody tells that person to leave is astonishing. Everybody just, it's wrong. And again, I apologize. I should have left, but I was enjoying the film.
You learn from those mistakes. Next time there's a $1 billion superhero movie, maybe you'll bring your chili and your farts to another theater.
Maybe.
Jon Bernthal is in this movie, I guess.
Yes.
Dave, he is in the news. He was on the Howard Stern show, and I guess was talking. They somehow got into pit bulls. the dog pit bulls, and apparently, because not, I wanted to delineate that from the singer. It wasn't
Sure.
not the singer pit bull, who everyone loves. We all love pit bull.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? Now, I haven't seen a Tom Holland movie, but I have seen Pitbull in concert multiple times. I don't know what this says about me. Howard Stern, a lot. Howard Stern, they were talking about this, and he said the widespread fear of pit bulls is dog racism. And he said it was compared to judging people based on the race, on their race or sexual orientation. He has pit bulls. He says, my dogs are the greatest, and they're honest. So apparently they're giving him factual statements and sticking to their beliefs. But also, apparently it's a lot of BS. People have to stop that. Pit bulls don't attack. It's just racism. It's just dog racism, Dave. That's what he said.
Does he consider racism? Because he's saying this to a guy who's worn a lot of blackface and said plenty of racist things on the Howard Stern show.
Many times they've tried to he was a victim of multiple recanceling attacks because of the things he said back in the day. Through 2021, 2022, 2023, people kept resurfacing old shows, and he somehow seemingly survived it.
Yeah, especially when it was arguably the worst of all of it. And well, look, I think. I don't know. Look, I think it's wise to be a little bit skeptical of pit bulls, and I like all dogs. Personally, I know a lot of people that have pit bulls, and I like them. But, I think that you should discriminate a little bit, and I feel that you should also do that with people. So I don't know what that says about me, but it's probably a good idea to be weary of both human beings and pit bulls based on stereotypes.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think, too, I am happy to discriminate against a person because of their horrible individual characteristics, right? Like when I meet someone, I dislike them, and I feel like it's absolutely fine to discriminate against that type of person. That is, though, on an individual basis. The problem with discrimination when you're basing it on a large category, right, is you're not treating a person as an individual. When it comes to, and this is where I kind of am conflicted on the pit bulls thing. I've never had pit bulls. I've known people who had them and absolutely love them. They think they're the greatest dogs in the world. I've known people who loved them and then got attacked by them, right? Like it does seem like there's a little bit of I don't know if it's a gene that was bred in a long time ago or what it is, but there does seem to be a more likely terrible outcome when it comes to pit bulls. But still, it's probably a small percentage of the dogs, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is funnier when you're constantly defending your pit bull and then it kills you in your kitchen one time during a quick moment where it forgets you're its master. There is always some good humor to be had there. It just depends on the dog. I mean, I do know a lot of people, like I said, who have had pit bulls and they're great, and other people that have had a real whoopsie daisy when it's torn their jugular out. Also, not all pit bulls, they're not all going to be the same, but they were bred for violence initially, I believe, for fighting. I could be wrong, but you're going to get that with a dog. And that's sometimes the reason why people want that dog is for protection. And sometimes the dog will protect itself against you, the owner, in a hilarious fashion.
It's like that. What was the documentary of the guy with the bears? It was Grizzly or Grizzly Bear?
Grizzly Man.
Grizzly Man.
Who was an idiot. Yes, it's a lot like Grizzly Man. Or it's a lot like the gay magician who had tigers, who swore that those were friendly until it ate his face.
Yeah, it does seem like, you just keep increasing your odds when you're around a dangerous animal over and over and over and over again. Most of the time, probably pit bulls are fine and probably nothing happens. I wouldn't get them, especially with having kids, like because of of that risk. And that might be dog racism popping into my world, but it's the same thing. Like I would be the same way. I mean, what was it? The guy the guy with the accent that got killed by the Steve. What the heck was his name?
Steve Irwin.
Steve Irwin, right? Like
The crocodile hunter that got killed by a fish.
got killed by a fish.
Killed by a stingray.
Yeah, you put yourself in a situation over and over and over and over and over again. You just start increasing your odds that something terrible is going to happen, even though you're probably right that most of these animals are fine and they probably don't, have a problem with you unless you have a problem with them and all those things that they say. But eventually, you get the freaking nut job animal. And then we have a terrible story where we all have to be like, gosh, I can't believe that happened to him, when we all can believe it happened to him.
Yes, well, in the words of Norm Macdonald, he lived to be a ripe old age of 40 for a crocodile hunter.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, you have to think that's kind of up there for a crocodile hunter. And I feel that if you're breeding a lot of pit bulls, I mean, when you go into somebody's yard, they're not usually fighting cavapoos.
No.
It's just sort of part of it. I know people that have rescued pit bulls and they've been great. I've rescued a couple in my life and brought them to sanctuaries that were fighting dogs that were bleeding out. So I've been around ones, but I've also seen a pit bull bite a kid's fingers off.
Oh my!
But the kid was throwing. I was a kid when it happened, but the kid was throwing rocks at it all summer long. And then he put his fingers into the fence, and the pit bull bit his fingers off, and all the kids were, well, just two of the tips of his fingers. But the kid that it happened to was acting like the victim, and we're like, he's been throwing rocks at those dogs all summer long.
Yeah, it's hard to feel bad for that situation.
Right. So we were on the side of the pit bull. But I have seen them bleeding in Detroit as fighting dogs. I've seen them attack people. I know they can be violent, but that can be any dog if you abuse it or hurt it. But I think Jon Bernthal, though, also said that he didn't like to take naps, and he doesn't trust people who take naps. Then he got caught taking a nap. So
what a liar.
I wonder what he really thinks about pit bulls. Maybe he likes his pit bulls, but I bet you he sleeps with one eye open. Maybe that's why he doesn't like to take naps so much. Is he's a little worried that he's going to get his jugular ripped out by his land shark.
That's a great point. That could just be functional for him. This is yet another example, though, David. And we've had several of these, I think, since we started the show, where I just sit here amazed at the life that you've lived. Like, you've gone through and done so many fascinating things and been in so many fascinating situations. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I was watching a dog bleed out, and I'm glad, but I'm fascinated by your life.
Sometimes when you're buying dope late at night and you're in the wrong neighborhood, somebody opens up the back door of a place and they throw out the dog that loses. Mm-hmm. And that is when you and your friends rescue it. And I had a couple of friends that kept those dogs.
And did they ever get murdered like Grizzly Man?
No, they were very loyal to the owners who kept the dogs. But there's also a guy named Hush, who's a rapper in Detroit, who has a sanctuary for pit bulls. And I don't think he's ever been attacked. I don't know for sure. But they are for a lot of fighting dogs because people do breed them to fight. So, I mean, like I said, I think it just depends on the dog. Like, will one attack you? Absolutely. But will one not attack you? Absolutely. I think it just depends on the dog. It's like Dobermans used to be like that.
It's very, very true. That's very, very true. All right, I want to take
Rottweilers, and I've had Rottweilers, and they're great dogs.
I've always heard that those
Chopper.
Yeah, I've always heard that they were dangerous, but again, probably not in most cases. Apparently, though, while it might not be a crime to be a dog racist, it is a crime, at least in San Francisco, to be a dad. We'll tell you about that next. So a guy, his name's Sam Dogan, wanted to spend an afternoon with his kids. He's got a 6-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son, and they weren't in summer camp, so there was nothing on the calendar. They decided to go do something fun. They decided to go to Golden Gate Heights Park and play some tennis. They've done this a bunch of times. They brought a bucket of balls. They were going to practice for an hour and then go on a bike ride. He was there. It's amazing. He's there, and there are times, I guess, here where these public tennis courts are in demand, when you have like big reservation fees. But at this park, it's first come, first served. So they have all these types of things where people will kind of walk up and they will, use these courts. And sometimes they'll use them for too long and people complain or whatever. But about 20 minutes into their session, the dad said he saw 2 Recreations and Parks Department rangers approaching. They carried batons and wore vests that appeared bulletproof. He said, I was wondering if I was going to jail. I had felt like a criminal. What did I do wrong? The Rangers informed him of the horrible crime he had done. What has he done here, Dave? He apparently was instructing his children to play tennis. And see, you need a permit to teach tennis. You can go play whenever you want, but if you're going to teach tennis, you need a permit at that park. And here's a guy who said, quote, I just wanted to be a good dad. He's trying to teach his own kids how to play tennis.
Sure.
And he has to pay a fine of $192, which is, of course, completely rational.
Yes. Well, it being San Francisco, right?
Yeah, San Francisco.
Yeah, had he been abiding by the law and just been having open air daylight sex with another man on that court, I think it would have been fine. Had he been sodomizing either kid with the racket, that would have been completely acceptable in San Francisco. But unfortunately, he was trying to be a good father in an area where that is, I think, pretty much deemed unacceptable.
Yeah. You have to believe if he was doing heroin, they would have just looked the other way completely. But he was trying to teach his kids to get a little bit of athletic movement in their lives and learn a sport that they can play for the rest of their lives. And that's apparently a crime.
Yes. Correct. None of the kids looked to be on drugs or abused, so there was really no reason to let the father go.
Unbelievable.
It's a shame.
All these big cities have just gone completely insane.
I just can't imagine writing a ticket for that and then going to the judge. I'd like to see how this turns out, because if he does actually have to pay a fine for teaching his children something, which, by the way, couldn't possibly be a crime.
No.
It can't possibly be a crime to teach your kid how to play tennis. There's no way that's real.
No. I mean, you have a right to do things with your children and teach them to play sports. Now, of course, like there might be a rule on this court where you can't have a paid instructor, right? Like they do have that from time to time where they want it to be open to people. They don't want it to be essentially free, free from rent. If you're running a business, right? You're charging $130 an hour or something for a tennis lesson, and you just keep going to these public courts and taking them up all day. I can understand why you might say that activity is no good, but when you realize it's a dad with his kids, you change your mind, right? Where's just the sanity here? Where can you just say, look, obviously this guy should not be fined for this?
Well, a tennis instructor is really hired not so much to be on the court, it's to bang a lonely housewife at home. They're not even really there. Like, that's just sort of a thing we pretend is real. Like your dad teaching you to play a sport. Like, I'll be taking my son to the park later to play baseball. No police officer is going to stop me from doing that because that would be insane. But the fact that they actually have to have bulletproof vests on these people to come up and stop somebody from doing the most innocent thing, it just shows how absolutely backwards and crazy that these cities have actually become. That is a real story. I mean, I hate to say it. That's pointing out the obvious, but that's nuts. If you do that to somebody in front of their kids is nuts.
And to your point, the best reason to teach your kids to play tennis is so that they get good at tennis as they grow up. And then later on, when they have a spouse, they'll be able to catch the spouse because they've been taking years of tennis lessons and still suck at tennis. And you'll know because you know how to play. That's the reason to teach your kids tennis.
Exactly. And no one likes tennis. He's just, maybe he does. Very few people do. So,
I like tennis.
Of course
I play
you
tennis.
do.
Yes, I have to say.
Well, yes, but we've all admit, you've seen Pitbull live 3 times or whatever it was, and you like tennis. So You do you.
Hey, well, at least I'm not going out there seeing every Tom Holland movie that comes into theaters. What does that say about you?
I'm not either.
Oh, sure.
I've played tennis. I won't lie. When I was young, I took tennis lessons.
I like tennis. I played tennis in high school. It's great exercise, and now we can all have the 1/18th of the amount of exercise and play ping pong on the table with pickleball. And that's how adults now stay in shape. That's the way you do it.
Or beer pong, which may not have much to do with tennis, but it's a much more fun game when you hit your late teens, early 20s.
It really is. It's where the men separate from the boys, I believe, at that point.
It is.
Okay, I want to take a quick break and come back with a little bit more on the other side. Also want to tell you about Frontier. One of these strange side effects of the internet is that we've been becoming experts kind of on everything that's happened today, or at least in the last few minutes, and we're amateurs at understanding why any of it matters. And look, you're not an expert about what's going on in the last few minutes if you don't have historical perspective and understand what built us into this moment. Why are we here? Why is this happening? What's the lineage of this story? Frontier stands out in this way because it's a magazine that, instead of chasing every story that happens to be trending for the few hours that you're on the internet every day, Frontier takes the long view. They look at the people, the ideas, and the movements that shaped America, and in many cases are still shaping it today. It's the kind of magazine that you find yourself setting aside time to read. The newest issue explores Richard Nixon in a way that you've never seen before. Is his legacy maybe worth revisiting a little bit? Frontier asked that question, and so much more in their latest issue. You're going to really love it. So check it out. If you go now, I think you get like a discount. BlazeUnlimited.com/Stu. Go there. You get, I think if you use the code Frontier40, you can save $40 off and receive a special bonus, digital access to Frontier issues 1 through 5, including an issue, including Dave Landau and his writing in it. It's great stuff. BlazeUnlimited.com/Stu. BlazeUnlimited.com/Stu. Use the code Frontier40. Speaking of cities out of control, New York is in that situation. They are now trying this city-run grocery store thing we've talked about a couple of times, Dave. And it's like, now they're saying they're going to save you 30% on a bunch of these groceries. At the same time, normal grocery stores are running at a 2% profit margin. So how are they going to compete with this situation? It doesn't seem to matter to anyone. And a reporter asked Mamdani, hey, like if you're selling it for 30% cheaper, aren't people just going to resell it for 15% cheaper and make a profit? This is how that exchange went.
How are you going to keep people from taking advantage of that, that deal, basically? And is there going to be a limit on the number of items that someone can take that are discounted at that level from that essential basket?
So our RFP makes very clear that this is a program for New Yorkers to be able to put food on the table, not a program for people to be able to make a quick buck through reselling. I'm going to pass it over to our EDC head, G-Pack, to add some additional details.
Oh, great.
Yes, if you look at our RFP for the operator, we are looking to make sure that we target New Yorkers, whether it be at sort of a library card-esque thing, and also we manage who's buying and that is focused on everyday New Yorkers. So we are mindful of that, and so we're going to make sure that we have all the things in place to ensure that that does not happen.
In other words, they have no idea how to stop it. They know it's going to happen, and what they're going to try to do is, I guess, ID people, which they don't want to do for your vote,
Correct.
But they want to do for a tomato.
Yes, they need to have the identification to make sure you don't resell it. They're going to undercut everybody in the area, which is going to hurt those stores. And the memes I keep seeing online, which is 7-Elevens, but the 7 is a 9, is quite funny.
It is, and it's sad. It's funny, but it's unbelievable that 20-something years later, this is actually happening in New York City. All right, Dave, we got to go for the day. DaveLandau.com is the place to go.
Yes.
Check out that. Give me a couple dates if you have them right now as well, Dave, for any chance.
This weekend, come on out to Albuquerque, guys. Hyenas, Friday and Saturday. And also Denver, Colorado, September 17, 18 at the Improv.
Will you go to the Breaking Bad house while you're there?
I've been before, but I probably will again.
Okay, perfect. PredictableShow.com is where you can find me. Of course, BlazeTV.com/Stu and Dave. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.